June 6th, 2013. Just to go over a few of the rules and procedures for this evening's meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission is generally an advisory body of the City Council. The city will hold a public hearing and make final decisions on all matters before the commission other than site plans and preliminary subdivision plats. The commission's decision to approve or deny a site plan or a preliminary subdivision plat is the final decision by the city unless the applicant appeals to City Council. You'll need to contact the city clerk or community development department staff for details on those council hearings. This evening, the applicant will be given 10 minutes to present the request. Proponents and then opponents from the public are allowed to speak in that order, with each speaker allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. The applicant will then be allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal. The hearing will then be closed, and the commission will discuss and vote on the issue. All comments are to be germane to the item under consideration, and speakers are to maintain a courteous manner. Items listed on the consent portion of the agenda will not be individually discussed and will be considered for approval in accordance with the recommendation in the staff report unless an individual present or a member of the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately under the public hearing agenda. The City of Des Moines is pleased to provide accommodations to individuals or groups with disabilities and encourages participation in city government. To better serve you when possible, please notify us at least 3 business days in advance at area code 515-283-4209 should special accommodations be required. Assistive listening devices are available for meetings in the council chambers. The Planning and Zoning Commission meetings are also broadcast on Mediacom Cable Channel 7 for customers with that service. The broadcast is also streamed live in real time on the City of Des Moines website at www.dmgov.org. You need to click the Watch Live link. You won't be here, and we wish you that you were. Kathy, do we have a quorum? Quorum being present. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Is there a motion? Is motion? All those in favor? Well, is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Woo! Opposed, same item. And what's abstentions? 1, 2, 2 abstentions. Do you have those? 3 of them? 2? Okay.
Is it 2?
Joanne, are you abstaining? You're not abstaining.
No, just the 2.
16 and 10.
Okay. All right. First of all, before we get started, I want to know if there's any, if the applicant is present on item number 3. Is the applicant present? Okay. Is there a motion with respect to item number 3?
They're here.
They're here? Are they here?
She's present.
Oh, all right. All right. Let's go ahead and take up the consent items. There are 2 of those. The first one is review and recommendation of City Council regarding a petition to continue and adjust the boundaries of the downtown Des Moines Self-Supported Municipal Improvement District, sometimes called a SMID. The second one is request from Neighborhood Revitalization Board for review and a recommendation of the Grays Lake Neighborhood Plan for adoption as an element of the Des Moines 2020 Community Development Character Plan. Is there a motion? Oh, you want to add something?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to point out that in front of you tonight was an addendum to the evaluative report that was in your packet. It was a 13th item to add into that report that was inadvertently omitted. So I provided that to you. It basically just describes how the proposed SMID furthers the objectives of the urban renewal district for the downtown and lists the statements out of that plan that are supportive of the SMID proposal. So legal department did ask that this be added to that report prior to it going to council and prior to you taking action. So if any motion that's made on that consent item could say staff plus the addendum that was passed out, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Everybody have a chance to look at that? Okay. Is there a motion with respect to the consent items? Okay. Get that, Kathy. All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify. I'm sorry, Ted, did you have something?
I'm going to abstain from number 1 of the consent. So
Okay.
I'll vote on consent, but I'm abstaining from number 1.
Got that, Kathy. Any others? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Passes. Moving on to item number 3, which is a request from, I'm
I
sorry.
just wanted to thank the Grays
Lake neighborhood group, and proud to be a part of the neighborhood, and I think you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah,
And I
welcome
think I
aboard,
speak
guys.
for my-
That'd be great.
I think I speak for my other neighbor, too. Thank you. I know.
Item number 3 is request from Kelly, I'm not even going to try. Wolfkuhn? Wolfkuhl. To rezone property in the vicinity of 1617 Oakland Avenue. First is to determine whether or not the proposed rezoning is in conformance with the Des Moines 2020 Community Character Plan. Second one is amend the plan to revise the future land use from low density to medium density. And the last is rezone property from R160 to R3 multiple residential district. Eric, you're presenting on this one?
Yes, Mr.
Thanks,
Chair.
sir.
Eric Lundy, Senior City Planner. To give you a sense of where this is in the Riverbend neighborhood, just north of College Avenue. This is 6th Avenue, so a block east of 6th Avenue and one property north. It also includes a piece of property that serves as a drive access. The property directly to the east that actually is in between the two properties is already zoned R3, so that the request doesn't actually apply to it, although my understanding is access is gained through the corner of this property, and there is a description of that that was provided with the application. So if you're really thinking about it, there's a little triangle here that also serves as a connecting access point. You might be able to see it a little bit easier.
Eric, is that a triangle or just an alley?
It's a triangle. It's not a true alley. It's a, this plat was originally platted such that this area right here was actually all one original lot as part of the Oakland plat, which is part of a national historic district. The request in front of you is to rezone to R3, which would allow the applicant in the future then to apply for consideration by the Board of Adjustment for a conditional use to be able to operate a correctional placement residence, which there are standards in your staff report from the zoning ordinance that would apply. The Board of Adjustment would apply these standards, but that they don't even have the ability to consider it unless it's zoned R3. So this is sort of the first step in a couple of processes that the applicant is looking to go through. A little bit of history about the project too. 1986, the Board of Adjustment gave a separation variance to the property to allow it to operate as a supervised group residence, which the basic difference between supervised group residence and a correctional placement residence is really the fact that the residents are not in a supervised group, rely upon supervision, but they aren't there because the court has placed them there through the correctional system. So that's the basic difference. R160, the zoning that the property has right now, would actually allow consideration of a supervised group residence, but would still need to go back and have that separation requirement. The action that was granted previously to the Harbor of Hope Mission was strictly limited to them being the operator, and if the property changed hands, the variance was abandoned at that point. So if you need to see that order, I can pass that around too. So when staff looked at this, we looked at a couple of different things. We looked at, what's the present condition of the house in terms of its size, how's it configured. This is a view of it from Oakland Avenue. And there's been some recent construction work, I believe, to fix the sewer service and some other work, and I'll let the applicant explain that in detail if necessary. This is looking at it from a little bit further southwest of the property. You can see maybe a little bit better how large the dwelling is. It's about 6,000 square feet, between the two main floors. There is an upper story to the attic as well that has habitability. This is looking from the south up the drive. That's that other piece of property. This house is actually not on the subject property. That would be that house to the east. So if you look at a zoomed in aerial here, when you're looking up that, you're looking at this house, which is also a multiple family dwelling. This is a multiple family dwelling. This is a multiple family dwelling. They're zoned R3 already. This is a duplex, and this is a Baptist church right here. So. And this is maybe just a little bit zoomed out so you get a little more perspective of the terrain there.
And actually, the subject property would be to the right then.
Well, the subject property, part of the subject property
Left,
is in
I
the
guess.
center of the picture. But to your left over here,
Right.
that would be the garage, I believe, on the subject property.
Okay.
So if you go back to this aerial, you can see this
That's what I meant.
garage right here. And then this is the dwelling. And so that picture was taken from about right here. That actually might be a fence. I'm sorry, the garage is probably back over in this. Staff looked at the River Bend plan, which has been adopted since the 90s. I think 93 is when the city, in partnership with River Bend Association, adopted that plan. And it definitely called for the rezoning that took place in a large part of the neighborhood, which reduced the neighborhood from an R3 zoning to an R160 zoning. And so the spirit and intent of that was to provide density reduction throughout the neighborhood and get down, reducing density of dwellings, not necessarily taking them all back to single family, but allowing for density reduction when a lot of these properties are getting rehabbed. The tendency at that time was to still chop them up into more units. And so this was trying to reverse that trend. So the intent was definitely to reduce densities. Based on that situation and based on that intent, staff, in consideration of the land use plan amendment that would be required for this rezoning, really couldn't, based on what was in the application, justify supporting the amendment to the land use designation, which by default then we wouldn't be able to support the rezoning. And that's again based upon this desire to follow the intent of the River Bend plan. Now we also recognize that this is a large structure, and if there was some more detailed plan as to how this might fit a use that's in R3, that could be reconsidered. But at this time we don't have anything other than the desire to go to a correctional placement facility. So at this time we're recommending denial of both the amendment to the Des Moines 2020 Community Character Plan and denial of the rezoning.
Do you have a map?
Yes, this is the consent map. I passed the cards around. Right now it's at about 32% objection of property within 200 feet of the rezoning property, which would throw it into a 6 out of 7 vote of the city council to approve the rezoning. Again, I think, most of the comments in the neighborhood responses were based on that desire not to have correctional placement and not to have a increased density. Right now, there would be up to 25 beds based on what's allowed for correctional placement under the standards that the board would consider.
Eric, this may be a question that we ought to be asking of council, but the fact that it's a correctional facility bed or residential house, is that even something we're entitled to consider?
Well, we would have to allow it from a zoning perspective. I think there's other hoops that they would have to jump through to make it.
What I'm saying is, from our consideration standpoint, our consideration would truthfully be based upon best use and also be based upon trying to, I don't know if it's upgrade or downgrade the whole neighborhood, right?
Well, and there's a lot of things in R3 that wouldn't be correctional placement, but without knowing specific plans as to how that might happen or be done on this property, we're not inclined to support that. So
Okay.
we're strictly looking at the applicant's intent right now, and we don't want to rule out that we might support an R3 rezoning in the future.
Mike, did you have something?
Eric, just to confirm, the downzoning, though, that was done in the neighborhood was of non-conforming structures back to R160. So if there were built-as multifamily structures or conforming conversions in the neighborhood, those remain zoned R3. So that downzoning, while we were trying to reduce density, it was reducing density of non-conforming conversions that had occurred over time. So that had been deemed to be detrimental to the neighborhood, so.
And as long as it remained as a supervised group residence, it was actually in conformance with what it was
Correct.
downzoned to, which was R160.
Correct.
Any other questions? Greg?
Two questions. One, you mentioned you hadn't been given any drawings or any sort of information about what they'd be doing. Does that mean you do or don't know if it's a conforming or non-conforming use?
Well, it's non-conforming because it's illegal, right? I mean, as a correctional placement, it's not allowed.
Under our
Trying
one,
to,
Yes.
okay, I'm trying to hitchhike on what you were
As
saying.
a supervised group, it conformed and it had to have a variance of separation. As long as that was in continuous use by the grantee, which was Harbor of Hope Mission.
So because there was a gap?
Yeah, the Harbor of Hope sold it to the applicant. And so that immediately
Oh.
took away
so
that
conditional use,
variance of
okay.
separation,
Conditional use.
right? And so,
Okay.
and then the other thing that happened was, correctionally placed individuals may have been happening prior to that even. We're not sure, we don't have any evidence of that, but there's the possibility that that was occurring.
My second question is, can you point out where the Hatch Development Group project's supposed to go? Isn't there one planned right around here?
It's further south on 6th Avenue.
Oh, yeah, it's on Forest.
Oh, I thought it was College. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Mike, did you have something?
Eric, so then, just to confirm in the staff rec, if the zoning were denied and it remained zoned R160, the applicant still could go to the Board of Adjustment and seek a conditional use permit for a supervised group residence.
Right, it would actually not even be a conditional use, it'd only be the variance of the separation.
Okay, variance of the separation for, because that is a permitted use in R160. The correctional placement would not be permitted under R160.
Right, and that would require a use variance if the zoning were denied.
One other question.
Greg, go ahead.
I noticed on a couple of the cards, there were complaints about how the facility was run, or, I don't know. I'm just curious if there's some sort of list from Sue or a zoning sort of,
Yeah, Sue has gotten complaints and we've had inspections. I don't have details of that right here with me, but that's what initiated this coming about. As soon as the violation notice was issued to the applicant, I believe they came in for a pre-app at that point, and we told them what their options were in terms of rezoning, going to the board for variance for the supervised group, or converting, what would need to be done to convert it to a multiple family residential.
Any other questions? Joanne?
One of the cards mentioned that there was enough group homes and like facilities around here already. Do you know where these are in relationship?
I do.
To
The
those.
two that would be in question with regard to the separation are actually north of this. Both of them are operated by Polk County. One's on this street. I think the other one's is on Arlington.
They have a couple on
But they're both-
Arlington.
Yeah.
And Eric, that's a quarter-mile
That's
separation.
within a quarter
requirement,
mile. And then there, at the time this was granted, variance back under the supervised group, it's the same quarter mile for supervised group as it is for correctional placement and homeless shelters and family homes. So all of those are considered to have to separate from each other by a quarter mile. But at the time, there was a third one that's now being operated as a nursing home that used to be a supervised group resident. So.
Any other questions? Joanne, did you have a follow-up?
Just what is in that building now? Anything?
My understanding is there's some operation going on. While it's under this process, we don't enforce. So when there's applications to remedy the violation, we hold off the enforcement. If there's life safety considerations, then we would look at it outside of zoning.
A correctional housing facility? Is that what it is right now?
You'll have to ask the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Greg, did you have something more?
Yeah, maybe I'm tagging on the same question. I was just curious about the condition of the facility. I understand that.
There was some concerns with regard to the condition. One of the things was some of the systems had failed with the property. That one of the things was that sewer repair that was done. And we did issue plumbing permits to remedy that from being an immediate safety concern. There would have to be some conformance to housing quality standards under our rental code process if this were to go to a correctional placement. So.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, can we have the applicant step forward? Please give us your name and address.
Kelly Wolfcool, 1306 Southeast Trilene in Ankeny, Iowa.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
I have a petition that I've collected signatures from folks in the neighborhood within 250 feet of the property that I own. These folks agree that they would not dispute or have a problem with us actually being in the neighborhood. So I have their names and addresses.
We'll be able to verify that before the city council. So
Okay.
take those in.
And I have pictures.
Yeah, you can.
And Kathy, we're going to ask that that be received and filed. If there's an objection, any objections?
What's that?
Okay.
Pictures?
The petition.
Yeah.
He's got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have them give it to you.
Okay.
If you want to use your pictures or speak to your pictures, just set them and I'll zoom in.
Oh, okay. First of all, I just want to kind of give a overview or a timeline of the property. It was built in 1880. It is on the National Historic Registry. It's a very old, nice building. It has 10 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms. And it had been run as the Harbor of Hope mission from about 1980 until July of 2012. And in July of 2012, the Harbor of Hope mission had decided to move to another location in Des Moines. And so from July 2012 to November of 2012, the house did sit vacant, empty. And the way that I got involved in this whole thing is I had been volunteering for the Harbor of Hope mission. I had been helping residents and doing classes and doing education and volunteering in any way I could. When they moved, I volunteered with them for a short time, and then I decided that I wanted to open my own type of recovery house. And so I purchased that property from them on Oakland in November of 2012. And from November of 2012 until January of 2013, I remodeled inside this building. None of the bathrooms were in working order, so we had to, put in new toilets, new sinks. Everything in the house basically is new. And we painted and, cleaned, and we did quite a lot of work. I did a lot of work myself, actually. I learned how to drywall and hang sheetrock and paint and so on. A lot of sweat and tears. And this is kind of my dream, my goal, my passion. I've always helped people in my adult life. I've given in any way I could. I volunteered at various places, Catholic Worker House. I'm going to school at Drake to get my master's in public administration. I really care about the community, and I feel that this is a really good place for men to come and have a safe, structured environment after they're released from prison or jail or some type of a treatment program. They have structure, they have curfews, they have to do what they, what they have agreed to do. They have to follow the rules or they'll either be sent back to jail or they'll be in trouble in some way. They'll have consequences. We have classes, we have education, we have computers. I help them with resumes, I help them find jobs. I take them to job interviews. Let me see. Basically from January to April of 2013, I had residents there in the building. And when the sewer went out in April of 2013, which cost about $20,000, by the way, to fix from the house to the street. After that time, they condemned the house because there was no running water and the sewer had gone out, and so we couldn't stay there, obviously. I put all of the residents up in hotel rooms because they had no place else to go. And then after they took the condemnation sign off the building, we then moved back to the building after the sewer was fixed and everything was back to normal. And then a couple of days later, I was notified that we had to vacate the property because of zoning, because I wasn't properly zoned to have incarcerated individuals there at the property. So immediately, probation officers, the Department of Corrections, called, came over. We got all of their residents placed somewhere else. Some of them ran, some of them relapsed, some of them went to Fort Des Moines. It was a very, very, very stressful time for them and for me. And so now, right now, there are like 4 people, 5 people there. They are not involved in corrections in any way. They are men who want to get better, who are practicing recovery and are involved in some kind of a treatment program. And I was told that they could stay there until this was settled and until we, have a final decision. And so I'm just hoping and praying that we can work this out somehow. When I purchased the property, of course, I had plans on opening this as a recovery house. Had I known that the zoning would have changed or that I would possibly not be able to do this, I probably wouldn't have bought the property, especially if it was going to be a one single family home, because it has 10 bedrooms. I mean, it's not really realistic to think of this home as a one family home. If I have to sell it as such, I'm afraid I'm going to have a really hard time, marketing it as a one family structure. And like I said, I've spent well over $100,000 investing and, I know there will be a lot of heartbreak if this does not go through, and it's not possible.
Anything else? Any questions?
I noticed your petition, in the text, it says that you are asking for signatures to support a recovery place, but not necessarily correctional. So is that correct, that you didn't ask the signatures, the people?
Yes, I did. I told them that the folks were from either jail, prison, or some type of a treatment facility.
Okay, unless I read it incorrectly, the heading there says recovery. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yes, I went through a little spiel when I went to the homes.
Any other questions? Thank you. Oh, did you want to?
Your organization's a 501c3.
I have applied for the 501c3. I'm still waiting.
Okay.
I applied in October.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
I have one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jackie?
October was when you purchased the residence.
November.
November?
Yes.
November. And at the time, had you, and I know the other facility had been there, but had you contacted anybody from city staff to, find out what uses
Yes,
might be available?
Bob Reynolds, the city inspector, did come out and look at the property, and he was very impressed with what we were doing. And at that time, he did not say anything about having to rezone. Or, like I said, if I had known before, I may not have purchased the property, or I would have started the process, right then. I certainly did not want to do anything illegal or, I wouldn't want to have to deal with this later on,
Jack?
Was an attorney involved in the real estate transaction that enabled you to purchase this property?
The Harbor of Hope had an attorney that handled everything. And in the contract, the purchase contract with them, it states that the property will remain the same and will be used for the same purpose. It says that right in the contract.
My question went largely to the concept of a title opinion by an attorney describing the encumbrances on the property and the zoning that you should be aware of. Was there such an attorney involved?
I did not speak with an attorney as far as that. But in the actual purchase and contract, it stated that.
One other question, do you own the abstract of title to the property at this point, or is it being
I have
held?
the abstract, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm going to follow up with what Jack said. Did you ever get a title opinion? Did you see a title opinion before you closed?
No.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? In favor of the application, please come forward. In favor of the application. Sir, please give us your name and address when you get up there.
My name is Andy Anderson. I live at Mercy Park Apartments here in Des Moines. I just wanted to give you a sense of the history of the Harbor of Hope. It started in 1984, and it was in operation for 28 years. And during half of those 28 years, I was the executive director. I just wanted you to be aware of the fact that there is a really vital need for this type of housing situation in Des Moines for all of these men and particularly the women too who are coming out of drug and alcohol treatment. So I just wanted to give you that sense of where we've been and a sense of where we need to go. If any of you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, I have a
Yes.
question, Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Would you say that there's a need for housing for this type of housing within the metropolitan area?
Certainly would. Certainly would. Yeah.
Greg.
Andy, how was the Harbor of Hope different? How were the people that lived there different than what she's trying to do right now? Is there the correctional difference? Was there that difference, or did you have people that would meet that correctional requirement when the Harbor of Hope?
No, we had people who would meet that correctional requirement. Yeah, we did. Most of them were coming out of either alcohol or drug treatment. That was the requirement that they had to have completed before they came to the harbor. Yeah. But I think almost from day one, there were people in there who had been either in and out of jail or on probation or parole. So.
But Andy, you understand they weren't under a correctional order at the time that they were in your treatment facility, right?
Oh, that's correct.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of the application? Please come forward in favor of the application. If there's anybody else, please come on up forward and against the wall there if you would, so we can move this orderly.
My name is Ronald Del Mullen. My address is Bethel Mission. I am an ex-inmate.
Ron, I think we need your name again.
Ronald Mullen.
Ronald Mullen? Okay. Get it, Kathy.
I was released from Florida Correctional Facility April 3rd, and I went to one-way recovery. I was there for 2 weeks, and I got a phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning from my parole officer saying I had to vacate the premises, that I had to be out by noon. So I packed my bag, and I packed a duffel bag. I had to leave. I watched everybody else around me go out and reoffend, start using again. And my first thought was, I could go get high and just go back to prison. But I said no. I attend an NA meeting every week. I go to AA meeting every week. I do a recovery meeting every week, and I work a full-time job. I told myself enough was enough. While I sat in prison for my 2 years that I sat there, I said, here, I've been in and out all my life. I wanted something different. Within the 2 weeks I was there, I reunited with both my children after 10 years. For once, like I said, I'm working, I'm doing these meetings, and when this happened, it just really displaced me. I went to a place where I could smell alcohol around me. You can see people using, being offered drugs. And I keep going today because I want to stay clean. I want to get to know my children. While I was there, I was able to get on the internet. I got a mentor. I work with Spectrum. I go to Voc Rehab. I go through ATR. So I'm doing everything I can in my power and using my community resources. And through this with Kelly, it's been a big hassle. And I've got to watch guys, I look them up on the internet, I've watched them, they're back in prison, committing new crimes. And if this would never happen, these guys would never be where they're at. And I'm seeing it every day. I'm seeing it all around me. My first 3 days when I was at the Bethel Mission, I broke out. They had bed bugs. Got them really bad. So my first thought was, why do I keep putting myself through this when I just go back to the institution? And I know I can't, because I don't want that. I'm trying to turn my whole life around. Luckily, I got Kelly and I got Mary. I call them daily. I speak to them daily, and they're like, keep going, Ron, keep going. My mentor, same thing. Spectrum, same thing. And the whole problem with this rezoning or whatever, it's hurting a lot of people. We're not all bad people. Yes, we've all made mistakes. I'm tired of making mistakes. I've made mistakes my whole life because I didn't care. Now that I'm 40 years old, my health's going bad. I got a bad liver from drug and alcohol use. When do I stop? You know? When I was there, I had a warm bed, food on the table. All I had to do is pay my rent and do my meetings. And so that's what I'm doing. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm a product of DOC, in which I am. I was born and raised in the Department of Corrections ever since I was 14 years old.
Okay.
And this was a chance for me to turn my life around, and everybody's helping me. And this is what I'm doing. And that's all I have to say.
Any questions? Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Please come forward, give us your name and address.
Excuse me. My name is Stephen Anderson. I live at 1047 Kirkwood Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa. I am a former resident of this house. I moved in there in May of 2008, right out of jail. I was an addict, an active using addict for 30 years, and I had a 25-year sentence hanging over my head. And when I was released on probation, I had nowhere to go. I asked for a halfway house, and it was the Harbor of Hope at the time. And without this house available for me to go to, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today. Today, I'm currently on the verge of becoming a drug and alcohol counselor. I have been working for almost 3 years now at Bridges of Iowa, another year-long treatment program. And I know that we have a whole stack of people sitting in prison right now waiting for somewhere to go. And, you know, this is one of them houses that we can provide a place for them to come to and live. It is right down the street from the probation and parole office. It's within walking distance. We are within bus system, the bus route on 6th Avenue for them to get to jobs. And there's not very many of these places around. There's lots of recovery houses, but this place helped save my life. And that's all I have.
Any questions? Christine?
Are you also on the board of directors of the organization? Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Please step forward, give us your name and address.
My name is Mary Lipper. My address is 6120 East Oakwood in Pleasant Hill, Iowa. And I'd like to speak for some of the residents there. My son was there for a short time, and he has been in and out of treatment programs. But when he went to one-way recovery, it was clean, it was drug-free, it was a place where he felt wanted, and he felt very much a sense of pride and responsibility in the property, and that was from the director, that was from Kelly. She has a great sense of pride in that house and keeping it an asset to the community. The whole sewer thing was just a horrible thing that happened, and so the front of the house is all torn up, and now we've had just rain, so it can't be taken care of. But I just would like you to consider that she wants this to be an asset to the community, and the gentlemen that are residing there feel that same commitment.
Any questions? Thank you, Mary. Anyone else to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. I'm going to ask you to line up on the walls so we can do it in an orderly process. Please step forward, give us your name and address.
Mike Hildebrand, 410 Franklin Avenue, and I'm the Riverbend Board President. I guess briefly, history with the Riverbend neighborhood. I've only lived there 6 years, so I don't have a lot of history as others in the neighborhood might, or you individuals. But I did know that the Riverbend neighborhood was not a place to go. 70s, 80s, 90s, it wasn't a place to be seen or to be caught in after dark. 6 years ago, I moved to the neighborhood, and from what I can tell, the history of the neighborhood that caused the problem were the multi-dwellings and all the social services that have been clustered into the neighborhood. And when I moved there, the neighborhood was working towards reducing that density and reducing the clustering of social services in that basically 2-mile radius. And they were maintaining, but just, I would say shortly after I got there, things really started kicking up, and it's not because of me, trust me, there was many people involved. The rezoning was already underway. That occurred. We've had numerous, I guess, victories here lately with the local historic district, which has brought us a lot of attention, as well as the 6th Avenue Corridor project. We've really got the momentum going, and the big difference I can see between the 70s, 80s, and 90s, potentially the early 2000s, and now, is that we're reducing that density. We have many things that are protecting our housing and the people's investments. We have numerous people waiting to move into the neighborhood that I don't think they had before. I think there's a lot of interest in being involved with Riverbend. So I think we're going the right way, and I don't think reversing any decisions that have been made up till now in the recent years is probably the appropriate way to be moving the neighborhood. The other thing I want to mention, and I wasn't going to talk about, but with the things that I've heard so far, I have no doubt that the intention to run an ice facility is there. I've spoken with Kelly a couple of times. going to use your first name, Kelly, because I can't pronounce your last. I apologize. No lack of respect meant. In October, I spoke with Kelly, and she asked me what I thought about her purchasing the property and opening a facility. And what I told her, and I have an email to my board on October 3rd, that I told her that I didn't know if there was anything we could do, if the zoning was in place and if permits were already in place, if she was taking over the facility. I didn't know that. I don't know that. What I did tell her, though, that if the Riverbend neighborhood was ever asked or involved in anything to where we were asked if we wanted to have rezoning of this facility or anything, I guess I didn't state rezoning, but any changes to this facility to house any social services or change the rezoning, I would say would be my intent, that she would come up against opposition. And that's why we're here. She was warned with that in October. The other thing that I will mention is while I've heard that it's a good facility, although not approved to be a facility, we have had, since April, when we became aware that there was some questions of whether they could operate there, we have been made aware by probation and parole, individuals that have stayed there, as well as neighbors, that there are, I would have to say, rules are not necessarily followed, and we did meet with the assistant director of the 5th Judicial District Department of Probation and Parole when they were pulling the individuals out of there, and they were concerned with the way things were being run over there. And we have neighbors that are complaining that at 4 a.m. there's people outside, and we have individuals acquaintances that we are aware of that have stayed at the facility that were not necessarily, did not necessarily have to follow the curfew.
Mike, you have one more minute.
Okay, so we're concerned with, reversing anything we've worked to up to this point, but we're also concerned with how the facility has been run to this point. And I would say also that while I am compassionate to these individuals' plight, I don't think this is the facility, the area for this facility to be located. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, Mike. Thanks. Please step forward and get your name and address.
Hi, my name is Leslie Schmalzried, and my address is 2203 196th Court in Winterset. However, my husband and I are the property owners of 1639 Oakland, which is on your map of PHP. And so you don't see us in there as registering a complaint saying, no, we're not interested. So here's what I would like for you to know, I guess. My husband and I purchased this property 4 years ago. We are longtime residents of either Des Moines since the early 70s or Polk County. We fell in love with the Riverbend neighborhood because of what we knew to be true, and especially because of what we believed the association would like to accomplish. We knew at that point, attended a couple of meetings to get acquainted with the historic district. So our home too is also 1880. I can tell you it has been a comedy of errors, and probably Kelly and my husband and I could exchange all kinds of wonderful stories. Our home has gone from a fourplex to a single family. We fought to get it rezoned, went to Polk County, asked for the taxes to be reduced. We'd love for you to come visit. It has been totally gutted inside. There is one working bathroom, no kitchen, but we have worked very, very hard with Bob Reynolds and your city building permit authorizers to do everything the way you would like for this neighborhood to come back. We love sitting on the front stoop on Sunday afternoons. We only have Sundays to work here. We keep our yard up. We keep our snow plowed, even though we live 35 miles away. I work for Iowa Workforce Development, so I typically go and shovel the snow. We keep our trash picked up. And we enjoy the neighbors. We have, in particular, several folks walking dogs and kids, and we love it. What we are concerned about, however, is this particular property. We're also concerned about the property across the street, that is the Jackson Governor's Mansion, that we had great hopes for when a family from Chicago purchased it. And if you drive by right now, we're very concerned about the yard, and we're very concerned that they're not going to follow through. So our commitment is to Riverbend Association as a single-family property. We do believe that there is lots of room for lots of different folks and neighbors, but we don't believe that, and like us, we've made several mistakes in 4 years. Like we said, we could tell you lots of stories, laugh and lots of tears and lots of sweat, just like what Kelly's gone through. But I guess we did check out. We know exactly what we were getting into. We didn't know we were gutting. But unfortunately, I think maybe we just didn't do the research that we needed to do for the neighborhood, and that is something that we're very, very committed to. So.
Ted, you have a question?
Could you point to your
You
house
bet.
on the map, please?
I'm not sure if I can, let's see. You might have to help me. I'm not sure where I point.
It's right up here.
Yeah, we are, this one is probably easier to see.
Okay.
We are PHP, so
Okay.
we're right outside of, we would have been in Orange, but we felt pretty compelled to come and just let you, get acquainted with who we are too. So there's a lot going on in this neighborhood. There's a lot of work to be done, and I'm just not real sure that this is, the group. So, and I feel bad about that. The work that I do is working a lot to help these folks find jobs, get and maintain, and so I'm disappointed. But I do believe that some research may be needed to be done.
Greg?
I have a question. How many square feet is your house?
Ours is about,
2016.
A little over 2,000.
yep.
And this one is 6,000 square feet, so what do we do? I mean, what do we do?
I think that's an interesting, we just got acquainted with the neighbor behind us. She owns the big one right here. And that one is about 5,000 square feet. And she has several young, older children. She's actually been cutting tree limbs down with a rope. So I mean, the commitment is there for these older property. I can't tell you what we do with something that's 6,000 square feet. Do I think that it can be supervised group? You bet. Do I think that it should be corrections? I don't really have an opinion one way or another there. I think what my concern is we didn't do the research. This is low density. This is what we wanted for a residential property. That's my concern. We lost our rental certificate wasn't there either. And Bob was pretty clear, you're gonna fix this one wall down in the basement. That was $5,000. We didn't realize that he wouldn't give us a rental certificate. And that's when the walls started all coming out. The home is now back to its original state like it would have been built in 1880. So you learn, you make mistakes, you learn, but we really did. We did know what we were getting into, and I guess I'm just concerned. 25 beds is a lot of beds in a property like this that isn't actually apartments. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions? Please step forward and give us your name and address.
Steve Smallsreed at 2203 196th and Winterset. One of the things that kind of brings me to a little bit of concern is I've been at 1639, our property there, a number of times where I've had bail bondsmen stop by looking for people. They're looking for this property. At the point, I didn't know exactly what was going on down the street. I just knew there were people going in and out, all I could tell. And this was the property that they were looking for. And two of them came back to where I was working, because I happened to be working at the house that day, and they were curious if I had seen anybody around, which I hadn't. I don't pay that much attention. But one thing I do see in this neighborhood a lot, because I'm there quite a bit, especially during the summers, there is a lot of kids around here. And I'd hate to see them influenced with anything, not that they would be, but temptation's always there. So just, I know that house across the street that Leslie was talking about, it's probably 4,000 square feet. And like I said, the one behind us, it's over 5,000 that has been recently rehabbed. It can be done. What you do with all these bedrooms and all these bathrooms, I don't know, but maybe you do the same thing we do. You start tearing out walls that weren't there to begin with, and you make them work. So go back to the mansion status. So.
Any questions? You can see.
Okay.
Please step forward, give us your name and address.
John Larson, 306 College, which is right there. I just found out tonight getting here that it was going to be used for that correctional thing. Nobody told me. I had no idea. I thought they were going to use it for, single family, or not single, multiple families in there. And now I'm kind of don't really know what to say because I'm really against it because I got small kids. And when last summer, I moved there in 2010, and it was boarded up as a nuisance property. So I brought it all up to code and fixed it up, still fixing it up. And so I got small children around there. And with all the people, traffic in that neighborhood, with the people going in and out of there at all hours of the night, I'm against it. And that driveway runs right into my house. So like in the winter time and that, cars come in and out of that driveway real fast, end up in my yard. And I just don't think that we need this many people in one location. So.
Any questions? Thank you, John. Please step forward and give us your name and address.
My name's Candace Jones. I live at 306 College Avenue. This picture had to have been taken from our side of the street, which is our house, which is right here. We have had issues. I believe even back in April, I had to call the police due to people standing outside on the street waiting for vehicles and not knowing what they're doing. I have a little kid at home, 7-year-old. Plus, I have my niece and nephew a lot. 25 men in a home next to my house does not seem like a very safe thing, especially them coming off of drugs and alcohol. Besides the fact that the lights shining in our windows, which I would, if it does pass, there's something that needs to be done about that. The fact that this comes off directly to our house. I mean, this is right in our windows at all hours of the evening. There are more people that live in this neighborhood. This person right here aren't living there quite yet, but they are fixing up their house. They may not know about this. They're fixing up their house to move into still. We've had a lot of people that I can't sit out on my step at 2 or past 10 p.m. without getting stopped and asked if I want to get in the car, let alone adding 25 more to that. The neighborhood's cleaning up, and you can tell there's been a difference, especially since April. I'm home all day. I can tell the difference. There hasn't been as much traffic. There hasn't been as many people in and out. That's been quiet. I've enjoyed it. Now I'm getting told not only are we going to possibly be getting more, but more additional correctional facility people, which I have nothing against. What I do have is, none of them people who spoke live in our area or neighborhood. No one is residing who spoke on their side. No one is residing in my neighborhood. So unless they sit where we live and they're sitting in my shoes, I would prefer there not be more people added to it. We were told that the zoning committee, after this happened, or after people bought a house, if it wasn't stayed up, then the zoning, it would go down. That there was a drop in people, there'd be a drop in people in our neighborhood, And now we're getting told that there's a possibility we're having 25 more men right adjacent the street of us. I mean, so they're going to be using our access for the whole thing. I mean, right in front of our house, coming in and out. 25 more people. That's a lot of people to go through.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Any questions? Thank you. Anyone else to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. Seeing none. Need some rebuttal time? Yeah, you can. That's what this is for. Rebuttal time, Kelly. Forgive me, I use Kelly too because I don't want to butcher your last name.
Kelly Wolfcool. As far as the density in the neighborhood, it actually will not change or will go down because when Harbor of Hope was in operation, they had well over 25 men living there. And so we're not really doing anything spectacular and increasing the population or density whatsoever. Right now, we're very low because we can't function with correction type residents. And, you know, they've always had correctional residents there in the past. And so I just want to let you know that we're not planning to increase. 25 is the maximum. I really don't want to have 25 people at the house because it's very crowded. So that's just a number of occupancy that we can actually have there. Doesn't mean we're going to have 25 people there. And as far as the driveway, I don't really like the driveway, but there's not much I can do about the driveway coming right into someone else's in front of their house. It's a very odd setup. You park in the back and then you go around the church and then you go around to get out. I mean, it's just a very unique type of setting. There's ample parking for us. There's ample lighting for us. You know, we take care of our yard, we mow it. That's all. I just wanted to reinforce the density thing because I know that's a huge part of this as far as zoning.
Greg, do you have a question?
Question. How many of your 25 beds or however many there are need to be correctional related, or could they be could they meet the supervised group residence requirement? And the question is, do you really need the correctional designation?
Yes and no. Yes, because there's a huge need for it, and that's where I get a lot of my residents. Now, if I were to have a supervised group home with not allowing correctional gentlemen or residents, then I would probably be half full. So, you know, it's possible.
In the community as a whole, certainly there are other places that can take the correctional designation.
Not very many. There are people right now.
Did the Harbor of Hope move somewhere, and so could they?
Yes, and they're full. Their capacity is only 9.
And can they take correctional?
Yes, they can. There are other places. The problem is they're full. I have probably a stack this high right now of letters from inmates from all over Iowa and South Dakota, Omaha, people who are waiting and are released from prison, but they have no place to go. Because when you get out of prison, you have to parole somewhere to some type of a facility. And so there's probably hundreds of people that are just waiting. They're released, but they're waiting for a bed somewhere. So it is a huge problem.
Jackie.
Ms. Kelly, I wonder what your response is to the alleged lack of supervision. I think it's been stated that sometimes people come and go, and what's your response to that?
To my knowledge, I'm there during the day, and then we have a person who is there on the night shift. And to my knowledge, no one comes in after 10 p.m. If they do, there's consequences. And to my knowledge, no one has came in after 10 p.m. And, you know, no one's out in the yard at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. or, I did not hear anything about that until this evening. So.
Then I guess I would follow up with that, it was stated that back in October, I believe it was, when you purchased the property, that the Riverbend Neighborhood Association did state that there may be some opposition.
Yes, he said
Is
that
that
there would
correct?
be oppositions.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I wouldn't be able to.
No, that's true. But you're saying that tonight is the first time that you were aware of any concerns.
About the 4 a.m. or somebody said something about someone being outside or something. That's what I was referring to.
Jack?
Right, with respect to the parolees or whomever your correctional residents would be,
Yes.
are we serving Polk County or are we serving Iowa? Are we serving the Midwest? What I'm
All of
trying to,
Iowa.
what I'm trying to do is understand what obligation as a county or a city we may have to our own citizens. And I thought I heard you say you had people from Nebraska waiting to come to Iowa, and I'm trying to find out whether we're dedicating this to central Iowa.
I am taking Iowa residents.
Thank you.
But I'm just want you to know that I'm getting letters from South Dakota and all over the place for placement. But all of my residents have been from the Iowa prison systems.
Any other questions? Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. For motion?
Move staff.
Christie's moved staff. We're going to break this down, first of all, with respect to A and B and C. We'll take up together. Jack, do you have something? Yeah, now that we have a motion, we're going to go ahead and discuss. Do you have any discussion?
I had a couple of points. First of all, I think our entire community appreciates the Renaissance in the Riverbend neighborhood, and it's obvious to those of us who drive through there from time to time that there's some sweat equity and capital being devoted to that area. It's a neat area of the city. Second is maybe for staff, maybe for the chair. Is this a three-step process? First of all, recommendation from Plan and Zone. Second of all, 6/7 vote of City Council. Third of all, requiring an appearance before the Board of Adjustment. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Those are all
Mike,
correct.
is that-
Yeah. Correct.
Okay,
And the Board of Adjustment's really looking at the merits of the correctional placement aspect of it.
right. How many correctional placement residences are in Polk County? Does anybody know? Or the city of Des Moines? I guess we can limit our discussion to the city of Des Moines as we are.
I don't even think I could say what that is in city of Des Moines. It's not as many, at least that as you might think, but correctional placement individuals may be, assigned in a single fashion. I think if you read the definition of the correctional placement, it's 3 or more, so there may be scattered, 1 or 2 individuals in places that we wouldn't even regulate, so.
Okay.
And Jack, you know about the fort, obviously, right?
Fort Des Moines.
Right.
All right.
But I couldn't answer that. I have to do some pretty extensive research to figure that one out. I might be able to call the county and get a better handle on that.
I'm trying to determine for my own conscience whether we are truly underserved in this regard, meaning we don't have places for these folks to go who have the opportunity on an order of parole or I'm probably not getting that terminology right, Mr. Chair, but
close enough.
All right, thank you. Or not, and I guess I'm just hearing anecdotally that we are, but I'm not real comfortable with whether we are or we aren't. But my next question would be probably to staff, maybe to Mike. Where could a facility such as this be without a special use permit? What zoning class?
It's my understanding all correctional placement residences require a conditional use permit from the Board of Adjustment and require a quarter-mile separation from like facilities that include correctional placement, special homeless shelter, or a supervised group residence, or they have to get a variance to that separation requirement as part of their application.
Okay, and then I guess historically, what has led to the concentration of these facilities in that area of the community? Anybody historically?
Cheap.
No?
Cheap.
Big
It's
places.
inexpensive. Big houses and inexpensive.
I've lived here all my life. I just wanted to hear if somebody else
No.
had a different opinion.
You already knew that.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Greg, do you have something?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts just to share with the board. Unless I'm mistaken, I'm kind of splitting this inside my mind into two sort of topics here, issues. One is just rezoning to R3, and the other is about whether or not there's correctional folks that are coming out of the correctional system there or not. And I guess I'm just sort of staying for the moment on the rezoning portion. And I, just because of the lens I look through, you know, I think about the facility itself, and Greg, you were asking some questions. It leads me down a path of if this is a proper size house for 20 people, 25 people, and it meets city code or is brought up to city code, and you know, that's one thing. And if we're thinking about a home that was built or added on or designed to do that, then maybe it should continue to do that, whether it's just plain straight multifamily housing. Again, I'm not hung up in what the particular type of tenants are. And what do you do with the 6,000 square foot home? And I understand the neighborhood has battled this all the way along. So I look at it from that point of view. I'm trying not to, at the moment, say, well, because there would be correctional potential, or would be folks from the correctional facility here, therefore they should not have zoning. If we look through that lens every time we looked at a rezoning case, it might be a little tougher sitting on the board. So, just my thoughts.
Any other comments, questions? I do have some comments. I've been on this board probably way too long from some people's perspective, but I remember the huge fight to try and downsize this whole area, to try and bring it back to R160 type homes. We had that over in Drake. We've had that here at Riverbend. We've done a lot of work to try and get this back into single-family houses and structures. I don't know how big that house was when it was originally built. If you look at it, you know it's been added on to. I don't suspect that it was 6,000 square feet when it was originally built. And frankly, I think we've done a disservice to our citizens by allowing this to go on as long as it's gone on. And we've now taken the steps that we need to take to move back and try and create single-family residences in an area that used to be all single-family residences, and now we've turned into apartment houses and who knows what. I don't have a concern one way or the other about whether or not you have multifamily or whatever, but I do know one thing. My concern is that if we're going to promise to the citizens that we're going to keep single-family residents single-family, we've got to follow through with that promise. And we made that promise to them. When we downsized all of this, we made the promise to them that it would be single-family residents. I don't think we want to go down the road of saying, yeah, we're going to let it because Joe Dokes happens to be a good guy. This woman may be the most wonderful person in the world, and I work with social workers every single day. And I know what kind of people they are, and they're fabulous, frankly. But I think that we have to worry about not just those particular individuals, but we have to worry about the community as a whole. And we promised that community that they could have a solid, firm footing as single-family residences. If you drive up and down Arlington and you drive up Hickman, you'll see that there are a number of those residents that have gone back to single-family. And truthfully, those places are wonderful. There's a place there that I wanted to buy that my wife said, not on your life. But we have made a promise to them, and I think we need to follow through with that promise. And that's why I would vote in favor of staff's recommendation. Any other comments or questions? Will?
I'd underline what you said, Dan, but I'd also like to mention what Greg had raised as a question about the size, the 6,000 square feet size of the house, and the question about what to do with it, which is a legitimate question. This came up here, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5, 6 months ago with a property over in the Forest Avenue area. It was a big house that had been added on a small site. We debated back and forth which way to go, and ultimately the decision was that if the house could not be used in a legal way, although unfortunate, perhaps the best thing to happen is to have the house removed and something go in there that would be more appropriate to the neighborhood.
Any other comments? Jack, did you have something?
Well, and you raised the point that Dan made, that when we considered that project, we were loyal to the plan for the Drake Neighborhood Association, which was to downsize and keep these or return these grand homes to single family.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and call the question. We're going to start out with staff's recommendation. Staff recommends that Commission find that the requested rezoning is not in conformance. That's the staff recommendation. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Acclamation, Kathy. And then we'll take B and C together. The next one is staff recommends denial of an amendment to the Des Moines 2020 Community Character Plan to revise the future land use designation from low-density residential to medium-density residential, and also that staff recommends denial of the requested rezoning to R3, multiple family. Am I okay, council? All right. Everybody understand the motion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand for staff. Opposed, same sign. One opposition. You get that, Kathy? Greg? Okay. Thank you. Does carry on staff's recommendation.
Mike, to explain what will happen with the city council now.
Oh, okay. Jackie indicated to me that I ought to explain to you what would happen. This will go from us to city council. I don't know what the date is on the, do you have the date for the city council meeting? It'll go before city council. They're making the final determination. We're an advising body. We don't make the final determination. So you need to understand that this will be taken up by council at their meeting, and we don't know when that meeting is.
And the other thing I should point out is that based on this action, it'll still be a 6-7 vote.
6/7 vote.
Even if opposition is removed.
Thank you, Eric.
From those property owners.
Thank you.
The minutes or summary of the meeting discussion tonight and the staff rec will go to the city council on June 24th to receive and file and set a date of public hearing. And that public hearing we would anticipate would be set for July 15th. The city council chambers, that's a Monday night, 4:30 p.m. The hearings actually start at 5 o'clock. And so they would not take up the rezoning until at least 5 p.m. on the 15th of July.
So if you have questions, you need to contact the city council or community development department staff at a later date, and they'll be able to answer your questions. Thank you. That's essentially our meeting. I'm going to go around. Anything from R&O? Greg? Nothing? And Jackie, I'll save you until the end. And anybody else have anything from any of their committees? Okay, thank you. Mike? You have
Just Two quick things. Just wanted to confirm that the council did approve the preliminary terms of agreement for the higher density plan option for the Viridian side, if you recall, on MLK and northeast corner of MLK and Ingersoll. They will be coming back to the Planning Commission here in July for July 18th for an increase in the density. They want to go from 39 units to 47 units in that building. So the Viridian will still be on the main level. There'll be, I believe, a commercial entity on the other end of the building, and then 3 stories of residential above that building. So I am personally very excited to see this project going forward. We have, in the 12 years I've been here, seen numerous proposals for C-stores, interest for C-stores, fast food restaurants, et cetera, on that site. And that corner is those really, I think we've always argued would have been a classic underutilization of that parcel. Staff is thrilled to see this coming forward, and it has taken a lot of patience by the developer, a lot of sacrifice by the developer, the consultants that are working on the project, everyone. So this will be coming back on July 18th, and we are very excited to see that coming back, and very happy to see the higher intensity option coming forward on that proposal. Second thing I just wanted to touch on was briefly with the natural disasters that have been occurring, flooding, tornadoes. I don't know if anybody saw the report on Channel 8 the other night about what a 2.5 mile wide tornado would mean in Des Moines. And if you saw, the boundary of what they showed was from Waterworks Park up to Birdland Marina is a 2.5 mile path. And they showed that path going through Des Moines. Think about structures, everything in Des Moines that would be in that 2.5 mile path, and it is significant. So just something to think about. It can happen. So hopefully it never does.
So we
Thank
can
you.
all not go to sleep tonight. Is that what
Yes, thank you very much.
I just hope you all.
Hopefully it never does.
Jackie, you had something you wanted
Yes,
to bring
I
up?
do. Just on a side note, and just to let us know how esteemed and distinguished a group we all are in. During graduation season, it's a tradition in our household. We go back to our alma mater, and they have an open house, which is Roosevelt. And for this particular year, they did kind of a tribute to luminaries, past luminaries who have graduated from Roosevelt. We have Governor Ray and Cloris Leachman, a gentleman who's a Tuskegee Airman. They had Lolo Jones, Tosh Kaiser, and I was delighted to see in that group was our own Ted Irvine hanging on the wall at Roosevelt.
I feel the need to respond.
Remember, 5 minutes for rebuttal time.
So that does confirm that I did graduate from high school.
Yes, that's right.
But I have to say that the theme of the senior party this year was Night of the Living Ted, which was why we saw Ted on the wall of the Hall of Fame.
But you were with Governor Ray and
Yes,
Cloris
yes.
Leachman.
In very inappropriate company. And by the way, I protested some of the Teds up there because they're actually Edwards, and I happen to be a Theodore, so I'm a real Ted, just like Theodore Roosevelt. Thank you, Jackie.
Anything else?
That was preposterous.
Seeing nothing? Anybody else? Seeing nothing? We're adjourned.
walk a city block in these shoes. Something